Hey, hello, and we're live. This is the second episode of Steel Sturzinger, and unfortunately, Anne is a little bit under the weather today. Uh, I don't know. I think she caught her cats got her sick again. Was that
Well,
what it is this time?
yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Actually, the cats just started a sort of rebound puking from the virus I had yesterday from those portions of the Los Angeles population which shall go unnamed, which do not understand germ theory but insist on riding the bus anyway.
We're gonna have to get you one of those masks so when you wear them when you go out, well, when you're on public transit at least.
I actually have one, but sometimes there's nothing, there's no place to sit, so you have to stand and you have to grab the pole, and whoever was grabbing the pole before you had their hand in their ass or you know in their nose or wherever people who don't understand germ theory put their hands before they touch shit in public. So yeah, so I started like, was it yesterday or the day before? I just woke up fucking torpedo vomiting, just like screaming headache, torpedo vomiting, going, God damn it, people, germ theory, motherfucker. So then today I go out for a constitutional because, I want to get healthy again. And I come back and I don't know what my cats have done to each other, but there's just cat vomit and fur everywhere. So I'm cleaning up the cat vomit and fur, and all of a sudden I get sick again and start throwing up again, which is why I look so pale.
Well, you always look pale, but that's okay. And you didn't put any blush on this episode, but that's fine.
Yeah, I put on this Korean makeup. You're a dude, so you don't know this, but South Korean makeup is the best makeup in the world, except it's so fucking pale. It comes in three shades: corpse, Irish, and somehow whiter than that, which makes me, think, like, that episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns had this like thing that blocked out the sun that he cranked over the whole town.
Okay.
It makes me think that Kim Jong Un must have one of those things that he cranks over South Korea so that they can't get any sun, and that's why their makeup is so pale.
Well, actually, the Indians. I remember seeing an ad someone posted on YouTube, and like if anyone had posted this in like if this ad was in America, people would be rioting in the streets. And it's this Indian woman, and she comes into like a modeling agency or something, and she's dark skinned Indian, and everybody kind of is like giggling and smirking at her, like like who do you think you are to be a model or something, and then she goes and she buys this like whitening cream on her skin, and then like the next day she comes back and they're all like, oh, because I don't know if you know this, one of the biggest insults you can say to an Indian is you look black or you're very
Right,
dark.
right, because India is a racially mixed country, but I think in Korea, I think they're just, what latitude are they at? Well, in any case, I always just get this comic image of Kim. They have this fantastic capitalist economy and everything's booming, but everybody's just never sees the sun because Kim Jong Un is up there with his fucking Mr. Burns sunshade cranking it over, going, "No sun for you."
I think they have four seasons there. I think it's I'm not exactly sure, but I mean they're north. I mean they're south of Japan, aren't they? So they're not, but they're kind of middle of the road. They get four seasons. Um,
Yeah.
but I think they do have some harsh winters, but um, they
Yeah,
get they get a summer too and all that. But and
yeah,
Kim
but
Jong Il
sometimes,
is in the north, so
yeah,
or
right.
Kim Jong Un, right? Kim Jong Il was the dad.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Which dictator are we on now? I'm old. I'm old enough that I actually get them confused. Like, which dictator are we on in North Korea now?
well, they
But
kind of look the same. They're always wearing like that James Bond villain outfit, It's,
did you see the latest photo of him, like just fat as hell, riding a white horse on a snowy mountain? It's a mountain that's sacred in North Korea, which doesn't make sense because communists aren't supposed to have religion, but whatever. And he looks so much like Fat Jon Snow. Like, I can't even remember what color Jon Snow's horse was. I'm pretty sure his direwolf was white. But just this picture of like Fat Jon Snow riding around on this sacred mountain just fucking cracked me up. And then I put this makeup on my face and I'm like, shit, since I moved to California, I can't fucking wear this Korean makeup anymore because, like, you know, Fat Jon Snow is blocking out all their fucking sunlight.
Well, that could be, yeah. You know, it's kind of funny. I'm thinking the downside, one of the downsides of him being so fat is he can't have body doubles because there's no other fat people in North Korea. He's the only one in the whole country. It's like, I mean, you ever see those people, man?
His second in command is like almost at a normal body weight, and everyone else is just emaciated.
Yeah, literally and they're all like, what are they all like on average? Like they're all like 4 inches shorter than their cousins in the South. You know, it's like, you know, they're living on a diet of like mud pies and I don't know, grass.
Yeah, can you imagine if North Korea is ever freed and they go down south and see what their cousins are doing? Like skyscrapers, people flying around in jetpacks, best makeup in the world, K-pop. And they're like, I had extra grass for lunch.
Yeah, they would just be like
like that. What if you meet people who actually still believe in communism and they're just like, well, maybe it's just, you know, it works better on different populations. Like, no, it's the same fucking population. It's the exact same people. And the ones that are capitalists are flying around in jetpacks, and the ones that are communists are like shitting. They're eating their cats. No, they don't have cats.
Yeah, I think all the cats are gone. I mean, that's like
generations since they had a live cat.
Yeah, they don't. You know, this reminds me of a story, a true story. A friend of mine, he was a neighbor, and he had a friend of his come from it was like Lithuania or Estonia, one of the Baltic countries, and he'd grown up under communism, and this was like around 1990, and he came to visit here in Seattle apparently, and they went to the grocery store, and he grabbed a cart and started throwing all the meat and the steaks in the cart. And he's like, quick, hurry up. Like, he just thought, if you don't get it now, like, it's not going to be here in an hour. Like, that, you know, that the shipment just came in and it could be months before we get it again. Like,
I can't believe it. It's my lucky day. Like, dude.
Yeah, well, they were like, no, this is a supermarket. We have them all over the country. It just freaked him out, actually, because he grew up under, and especially as bad as communism was all the time, it got really bad at the end before it collapsed.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, it was really hard. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and their economy just, it got awful. And actually, even after the communism it was even worse in a way, because there was, they didn't really have their currencies all collapsed, and because they didn't have any controls anymore. So it was really, because technically this was, I guess, after communism when they started to get some freedom. It was in '89 when all the other breakaways happened.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's also just the curse that's been on Russia since, before written history. So the closer you are to Russia, the more accursed you are, no matter what kind of government system you have.
The curse that's on Russia. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, that's just something that I made up while I was reading Gogol.
Ah, okay.
Like, no matter what Russia does, they just seem to be cursed.
Well, you know where the word Russia comes from, right?
Well, I know slave is from Slavs, so Russian must come from rushing towards the grave.
No, it comes from Rus. The Vikings founded it.
Oh. Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, the Vikings, they traveled everywhere. I mean, they found remnants of Vikings from Denmark and Norway, like in the Middle East and even the Far East. I mean, they went but they went down the river. Apparently, that was the cool thing about their longboats, was they worked on both the ocean and the rivers.
Yeah, that's funny. I just saw a cartoon of like Neil Armstrong on the moon, and he's like, fuck, they were here too. There's like a longboat on the moon.
Yeah, they went everywhere. I guess, I think what it was like it sucked so bad where they lived. The climate was just so harsh. They're like, anything is better than this, so they
Right.
just, I don't know what happened to those people because now they're like the biggest fucking fags in the world.
Yeah,
Uh,
like what the fuck? You went all over the world capturing and raping all the best women, and you wound up with Greta Thunberg? I mean,
yeah.
she looks so fucking inbred. Like, how the fuck did that happen?
I don't know. I'm guessing that the best of their gene pool left and settled in other countries.
Uh,
Uh, that could be it, and only the wimpy fags stayed behind. And I mean, that could be it, right? The best all died in battle,
That's true. That's true.
or they,
That's kind of a theory that I had about England. Like the reason English people suck so much now is because all the best of them either died in World War One or World War Two, or they'd already left for America.
Yeah, they could say the same for the Germans, right? All the best ones died in fighting in the SS.
Yeah, or they're still busy doing horrible experiments on cats and monkeys. You see that in Le Parisien? There's a French newspaper, because, the French still love to report shit on the Germans. There's this laboratory in Germany where they're doing just these god-awful, horrifying experiments on cats and monkeys and shit. There's, like, photos of monkeys wearing these metal collars, and the monkeys are just screaming in agony. And I'm like, Jesus, can't we leave you alone for 5 minutes? Yeah, we said you couldn't do that to the Jews, so you tried to do it to the gypsies. No, now you think you can do it to cats and monkeys? No, not cats and monkeys. Not even Chewy cats. You can't do that to anything.
I'm okay with them doing it to twins. They should be allowed to do it to twins because twins creep me out. That's
your one exception to. We should be humane to all sentient beings.
But not twins.
Twins.
Twins freak me out. I think that's why the Germans like a lot of it. They're like, I was like, something's weird about that, man. Like you were like, it was like a zygote and it split, and like that's just weird, man. I mean, it's like they're sharing a soul. I don't know. It's kind of trippy.
Oh, you'd be freaked out by my sister then, because she is a chimera.
So you, well, how so? Like, where is her?
A chimera is somebody who had a twin in the uterus and consumed them. So she has 3 kidneys because her body just sort of enveloped her twin and pretty much ate it all except for that one last kidney.
Wow. All right. That explains why she's like this fucked up liberal psychopath, right?
She's not a psychopath.
Well, she's a liberal, so I mean.
Well, yeah, but that's just because she's been in the university for so long. I'm so fucking sick of people's political disagreements. Just because, I don't know. People are all pretty much the same, and people's stupid fucking political ideas make me want to Ralph most of the time anyway. She's an awesome person, but she is kind of a psycho who ate her twin in the womb.
Okay, so that's where it's literally started in the womb. And now she wants to consume other people's resources and redistribute them, and keep the extra kidney for herself.
Actually, having an extra kidney is a lot worse than it sounds like. It sounds like a bonus, right?
Yeah. I mean, instead of 2, you got 3, right?
Yeah, but no, she almost died when she was a little kid, because what happens is if you've got 3 kidneys and they've got all these tubes going back and forth, the tubes can feed back into each other. So instead of like extra filtering her blood, her kidneys were actually poisoning each other.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so now her kidneys are all fucked up. And speaking of redistribution, one of the reasons I have to take good care of myself as I go into my doddering years is because eventually she's going to need one of my kidneys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and are you a match?
I'm afraid to look, but probably I'm the most likely match. I mean, if I'm not a match, I'm really lucky because I'm off the fucking hook, but she's not lucky.
Well, either that or your mom cheated on your dad. But that'd
I'm
be a
not
fucked up way to
sure
find out.
who would cheat with my mom on my dad, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we're going back 40 something years. Who knows?
Yeah,
Uh,
actually, I just went to my while I was en route to Chicago to give evidence in my rape trial. Note, I was not the rapist, just in case anyone's still fucking confused. I was not the perp. All right. I since my sister and her husband were driving anyway, I made a detour back to Wisconsin for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And there are all these photos of them at their wedding, and they look like little kids. They just look so innocent.
well, they were.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like crying. I'm like crying my eyes out because, of course, I just sat in a police station reliving, that time I almost died. And, now I'm surrounded by all my aging relatives looking at all these photos of them when they were young and like running around on the farm and being in the Air Force and doing all this young people shit. And now they're old and I'm just fucking bawling and everyone's drinking except me because I have to save my kidney for my sister. I mean, talk about redistribution of resources.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you this. I have a friend of mine who she underwent a dual transplant, a kidney and a pancreas.
Holy
Uh,
shit.
yeah. Well, she was born with type 1 diabetes or
Oh,
juvenile
damn.
diabetes. And like she had it since she was like 4, I think, when she became.
Oh, fuck.
So, yeah. And it's fucked up because she's like, my age and she had to go. That's
Oh, man.
before.
The guy I briefly dated, but who ghosted me because I wanted too much sex, had type 1 diabetes.
Really?
Yeah. He had like a pump that he wore.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe I don't know if for guys because it affects circulation, so maybe that affected perform. I'm not kidding. I mean that's an issue with people who are diabetics. They're
Yeah,
getting it
I
out.
wish he had been one of those more people who like to talk shit out, you know?
Hmm.
Because I could have been like, yeah, okay, I want sex more often than you do, but I understand, like, I don't want to emasculate you. I just understand you have this medical issue. So let's talk this out. Let's have a conversation about this like adults. But he was really into Star Trek, so he never really learned to talk to people.
Um, yeah, I wonder is it the Star Trek that causes that, or is it that people who are like that are drawn to Star Trek and take it a
I
little too
think Star
seriously?
Trek causes it.
You think so? It causes you to
Yeah.
get spurgy.
Yeah. Like I mean, there were things about him that were so normal and so awesome, and then you'd see the picture of him like posing with his brothers in their Star Trek uniforms, and you're like, man, that ruined this guy. That shit ruined this guy.
Jesus Christ, you were dating a fucking Star Trek geek? You never told me that.
Well, I didn't know he was a Star Trek geek till I was already like riding his cock, and I saw the picture on the shelf. And I was like, and it was great. And it was great. The sex is great. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking ignore that picture. He made. Oh, we're actually going to come back to North Korea. He made me play this guessing game with his ethnicity, which is like such a cruel game to play with me because I can't tell. I can't tell anyone from anything. It turned out he was like one of his grandparents was North Korean. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to be able to tell that? Like, all ice people look the same to me.
Well, he was kind of a slow. Well, did he have a small penis?
No, it was huge.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's breaking the stereotype there.
But the thing is, I've never dated an Asian guy who had a tiny cock. I don't know if I'm just like statistically shit just is weird for me or if that's just a stereotype that's not based on reality, but I've never seen that.
And all the black guys you've dated had tiny penises.
No.
That would be weird, right?
Yeah, that would be weird. But I guess my, because I do Kegel exercises, ladies, if you have a complaint about dick size, by the way, just like whenever women complain about a guy's dick size, I'm like, bitch, you just announced to the entire fucking world that you have a huge vagina. Okay? And there's nothing that he can do about his penis size, but there's this thing called Kegel exercises that you can do to rectify the situation. Okay? So I've never had a problem with a guy's penis being too small because I do Kegel exercises because I'm not fucking retarded. Pardon me to any actual retards in the audience.
Yeah, that's the least of our worries is offending the retards. I think we've already offended. Well, anyway, so Kegel exercise. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the vagina is the inside it is muscles. So if
so if you build up the muscles, it gets smaller.
Well, tighter.
More shit in there.
Well, it's. I guess, yeah.
I mean, it's the same reason some guys like fat chicks because the fat presses it in. But you can do that with muscles too. You can do that with any kind of bodily tissue. You can even do that with an erect clitoris, which is why it's like I don't know if you've heard this little bit of news. We're kind of getting close to one of the topics you wanted to get towards, actually. By the way, one of the topics you want to get towards sounds exactly like rock, paper, scissors to me. But like, what was I just saying?
We're getting close to a topic you wanted to talk about.
Yes, vaginas versus penises. But like you can. They recently discovered that the human clitoris, it's not just the tip and it's not just the shaft. It's this big octopus thing that kind of goes into your whole pelvis and it totally surrounds your vagina. So that whole argument people were having over whether like are vaginal orgasms real or are they just clitoral orgasms?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like because so if the clitoris is engorged, it makes the vagina even smaller. So basically, ladies, if his dick is too small, A, that's your fault, and B, if it is his fault, it's because he's not warming you up first.
Well,
but no, I've never dated an Asian guy who had a tiny dick.
Okay.
That's where all this started. All right.
Okay. Never dated an Asian guy with a tiny dick. And Anna, you guys have your minimum cutoff is like what? They have to be 8.5 or 9. That's your cutoff, and like 6 around minimum.
Are we talking centimeters or inches?
Inches. Fuck the metric system.
You know, I've never actually sat there and measured.
No, I'm assuming not, but actually, I did have a girl measure my penis in college, but I think I was the only penis she ever measured. It was like a goof, just to do it, but just the length, not the width. And I think there's an argument among women about what's more important, length or width.
You know, honestly, and I know this sounds like a cliche, but really the answer is neither. It's what you do with it. I mean, and that sounds like a cliche, but it's 100% true. Unless it's like a micro penis and like you can't even get it in, okay?
Yeah, but if you have a decent size, decent equipment, there's positions you can do that you can't do if you have, a little dick, so.
Yeah.
I don't have a little dick, so I'm assuming, but I imagine there's issues there. But like you said, some women don't care. Some women are not doing the Kegel exercises, so they need like John Holmes type of penis to feel it.
Yeah, and they're going on about he's just insecure because he's got a tiny dick, and I'm like, you don't realize what you just told the world, do you? You just opened your mouth and told the world something intimate, embarrassing, and fixable about yourself. Congratulations.
Well, it's funny. I'm having a flashback to Sex and the City in the 90s, and there was one blonde one that was the real slut. And she was dating this guy who had she liked him and everything, except the sex was awful because he had a small dick. So, but he didn't know this, she didn't tell him. So they ended up going to therapy. They ended up going to couples therapy because they weren't having sex, and he said, they're not communicating, whatever. And they go to therapy and they sit through a session, and then the guy's like, Okay, well, we'll come back next week or something. And like, she just couldn't stand the idea of going to therapy again. And she says, no, the problem is your penis is too small. And he's like, he's totally shocked by this. And he says, well, did you ever think your vagina is just too big?
And it's funny because it's true.
Yeah, well, especially her character, because she had been dicked by half the city. So,
Yeah.
it was worn out. It was stretched out. It was cavernous. So that
well, that whole cavernous vagina because you have too much sex things goes two ways. Like, yes, you have to have some experience with larger penises before you can deal with even thinking about having sex with larger penises, because it's very true that there's a point where you're like, you look at it and you're like, no. And yes, it does take some experience to deal with equipment of that size. But generally, having orgasms gives you more muscles in your vagina, which means your vagina does not become cavernous. So I guess basically, if you're just a hoe who fucks guys to get money or whatever, and you don't really enjoy it, then maybe you might have a cavernous vagina. But if you're enjoying sex, then that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, that's just Anne's thoughts on penis size. Actually, we're gonna have a lot of guys tune in because they're always curious of what girls really think about it. But that's the cliche about size doesn't matter. I'm thinking it does. I've had a lot of girls appreciate my size, so I think that they I mean, not all women, I guess, if they're really tiny down there, but I think.
But maybe they were saying that by means of, maybe they didn't even understand it, but they liked what you were doing with it. Because it's possible to have a huge dick and just use it in a very bad way. Like, I've wound up getting stitches, okay?
Okay, well, then the guy's just being mean. But I mean, all right, let me give you an example. Like, if the guy is lying down and you get on top of him, well, the large penis is great, right? Because you're totally in control.
Right.
So when a tiny penis, not so
unless
much.
he grabs your hips and like just starts,
Right. But you're still having more. You're jumping up and down.
Well, I'm sitting on one of those exercise balls right now, so it looks like I'm a lot more bouncy than I normally would be because this was cheaper than an actual chair. But if you're on top, it's great until he realizes like he can grab your hips and then just pick you up and slam you down as hard as he wants to do anyway. And that's how I wound up with stitches. The guy didn't seem to be malicious. He just, in the heat of the moment, didn't really.
He was so taken with your beauty and your sexuality, he just couldn't control himself. He had to,
He had to
have you.
He had to cause hemorrhaging.
Wow, that's not a fun place to have stitches.
Yeah, that was a really embarrassing day.
Oh man, that sounds awful. I mean,
yeah,
that would be an interesting thing for a guy to be able to brag about. I literally,
Well, actually, he was heartbroken because he didn't believe me. Like, he was really into me, and I liked the guy too. We were really good friends. But he didn't believe me. I was like, no, dude, after we had sex last night, I had to have stitches. And he was like, no, you just don't like me. You like so-and-so better. I'm heartbroken. And he kind of crawled off, and I feel bad because I hadn't heard from him since, and I think he might have died of a drug overdose, which makes me feel kind of creepy and horrible. But, if I couldn't make him believe what he didn't want to believe. Like, dude, I was hemorrhaging. It's not that I don't like you as a human being. It's that I was losing blood and had to go to the hospital.
Wow. That must have been funny in the emergency room. What are you here for?
Well,
show a picture of the guy's dick. I had sex with this, okay?
Yeah, and I thought being on top was safe until he realized that there was the picking me up and just yanking me up and down option that existed.
Well, next time you encounter this situation, tie his hands. And then just ride him like a human dildo.
Tie him to the bed.
Tie him to the bed. Right, that would work.
Yeah. We should just start a sex advice show.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we need like a disclaimer, like if you're injured doing any of these acts, we cannot be held responsible. If we start getting into all the freaky shit that we've done, you know, it's like because one of the topics was sex after 40. So in other words, by the time you're 40, if you've never been married and you've been around the block a few hundred times, you've encountered and probably done some freaky shit. So.
Yeah, our topics, your topics, the topics you had were penis versus vagina, which would win, and that's the one that made me immediately think rock, scissors, paper.
Well, actually, I was thinking about that, the penis versus the vagina. Now, the way I look at it is, the penis kind of has the advantage because the penis can move more, it can bob and weave, it can kind of wear the vagina down. I'm thinking like Ollie Foreman, where he did the rope-a-dope, just wore him out. You can just wear up the vagina.
Yeah, but the thing is, the penis can't deprive the vagina of oxygen, which is what you need to keep fighting. Like the vagina can smother the penis, and it's not going to be able to get its little urethra out to suck in more air. It's just surrounded. And if the vagina owner has been doing their Kegel exercises and you're in there and you're trying to wear her out, but you're like, I need to breathe, I need to fucking breathe. Oh no, damn that Kegel person. I can't get my urethra out to get air. I'm gonna die in here. Help!
Yeah, it's like an MMA chokeout. It's the old argument, the boxer versus the wrestler. Once the wrestler grabs the boxer, it's over.
Yeah.
But there's a caveat to that's in favor of the penis, is if the penis is only, let's say, 18, the penis could just still keep going. It's like holding, and eventually it's going to wear that vagina down. An 18-year-old.
It could go into anaerobic mode, like, fuck oxygen. Smother me all you want, bitch. I'm 18. Woohoo!
And then the vagina dries up and dies. So that's the way that so I guess I'll give the edge to the vagina, generally speaking, except when you're up against the 18-year-old penis.
Yeah, if you're up against an 18-year-old penis, it can probably go in anaerobic mode long enough to become victorious.
Yeah. You must have memories from way back when, 40 years ago, when you had encountered an 18-year-old penis.
Actually, and you're going to laugh, when I was 18, because I lived in Wisconsin, I thought I was a lesbian because the dudes there had hygiene issues.
Yeah, you mentioned that one time. You said all those men in Wisconsin smell.
Yeah, like you just even just being in a bar and they'd start dancing with you and like, hey honey, and you'd get a whiff of just like canned peas and you'd be like, I'm gonna go over here with the ladies because they smell nice.
Ah, okay. But you had a boyfriend in high school.
Yeah, he smelled nice.
Yeah, so.
But I thought he was just a fluke. And
okay. So
and the minute he went to college, I thought we were gonna get married, but the minute he went to college, he became a man whore, and then I was like, wow, that was the only man in the world that apparently I'm attracted to because my whole world was Wisconsin, and most of them just smelled like, rancid cheddar cheese and canned peas and government rice and
It smelled like North Koreans. Government rice
with a little less grass.
Yeah, they put on the rice for flavor. But okay, so you never really encountered one because you didn't get into guys until you were like in your mid-20s or something, right?
Yeah, and I really fucking regret that. Wisconsin men, you should have showered earlier. I missed out, damn it, you fucking no shower taking motherfuckers. I mean, not that the sex that I had with women wasn't fun, but I would have enjoyed some 18-year-old cock at the appropriate time. Now, fuck no.
Well, just for the reality of it, just to because you never had it before,
Yeah, I mean, if they could show up and not say anything and then just have sex with me and then leave, maybe it would be tolerable. But listening to an 18-year-old talk, I mean, I remember the shit that I used to say when I was 18. if I had to sit there and listen to 18-year-old me talk for like even as long as it took to drink 2 bars and say, let's go back to my apartment, I'd hang myself.
Well, you could do it. Well, now they have Tinder, so you could just order an 18-year-old like a pizza, and
Yeah.
just you message back and forth and say, I just don't want you to. You just look at his pictures and you say, look, I don't want you to talk. Just come here and fuck me. And I'm sure you can do that.
Yeah, there are guys who are that age who have this like Mrs. Robinson thing where they're really into older women.
Well, the thirst is so real among that generation of men that they're not saying that you're that bad. I'm just saying they'll fuck anything.
Well, yeah, they're. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be a man that age, and they're sitting around around a campfire going, but I've heard there's a legend. There are women out there. Okay, they're old. Their vaginas might be a little stretchy. They have wrinkles around their eyes, and they have these weird fucking memories from before smartphones. But they will let you touch their boobs and not call the cops.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. There was I think this young generation, is the first generation ever where they have less sex than the generation before them.
Well, who's that comedian? I keep quoting him. Why can't I remember his name right now?
Give me a hint. What does he look like?
He drunk, fat,
Ron White?
blonde, bald, just kind of lives in isolation now with his fruity girlfriend. He's friends with Joe Rogan. Fucking fuck.
It's not Ron White?
No, he did that bit, The Carnival, where he describes all the voices in his head that keep him up in the middle. Why can't I remember this motherfucker's name?
Is his name like Shope or something like that? I don't know. He's not blonde. I don't know. I'm not sure.
God, we're both senile. What the fuck is his name? Anyway, he did this bit about how, and this was just like at the beginning of the millennial generation. This was back before he was kind of an old drunk. He was still like, a mid-30s drunk, and he was predicting the future, and he was like, this is going to be the first generation. Like the tradition in America has been every generation looks at the generation that comes after them and goes, oh, these kids, they're so wild, them and their wild jungle music and their, pelvis thrusting and then they're twerking and they're so wild and they do so many drugs. Oh my God, I need to church lady out now. Like the new generation is the first generation where those of us who like lived through the era of 2 girls and a guy groping in the women's room drunk at the back of a bar on 2 cocktails for $1 special night. Those of us who lived through that era are looking at these kids who like they think 2 drinks is binging. They have to sign a written contract before they can move from French kissing to like touching each other's arms. We look at them and we're like, man, these kids, they're such a bore.
Yeah,
Hope.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Yes, that guy said S. I was thinking Shope or yeah. I know who he is. He's actually very funny, and it's true. What he's saying about the generation. And I have this theory. I don't know if there's any way to prove it or not. But all these like young guys I see, and they're all like embracing religion and stuff. I think that's just because they don't have any other options.
Yeah.
So if they were all able to get laid like we were, they would not be all of a sudden finding. I mean, some of them I'm sure it's sincere or whatever, but it's finding Jesus. I mean, because young guys aren't going to be turning down pussy. Let's be honest. I mean,
yeah, religion is what you do when you can't get in and you can't get sex and you can't deal with it and you're not going to admit that you can't get sex, so you have to. But actually, back in the heyday of the Catholic Church, you could still be like the Pope and have kids. So, man, back when the Catholic Church was really down and dirty right before the Reformation, like I just love the Borgias because like Pope Alexander VI, he had Lucretia Borgia was his kid, Cesare Borgia was his kid, like like he had all these virile sons, and if somebody who wanted to purify the church threatened him, he'd just be like, all right, send one of my virile sons to cut off his fucking head. And everyone's like, why does the Pope have sons? And they're like, because in Catholicism you can sin and then pay for it and then you're okay. Like, if you couldn't get laid back then, what was your excuse? You couldn't turn to religion. The Pope was fucking whores left and right. I mean, the Pope was getting more pussy than anyone else in Rome.
Probably, yeah. And you know, and now the Catholic clergy is getting more man ass than anyone else.
Yeah.
You know, or boy ass is probably more accurate.
Well, actually, they still get a fair number of female hookers. My dead best friend, who used to work as an escort from time to time.
That's another story. We'll get back to that, but keep going.
Oh, there are lots of stories about her. She was one of my favorite people ever, and I still deeply mourn her passing. I'm actually still thinking about marrying her husband, but because she kind of instructed me to, and he and I looked at each other and were like, oh, well, you're not bad. Well, it'd kind of be fucking weird. It'll be like having the ghost of Lisa around all the time, but we like each other. What the fuck? But anyway, she occasionally worked in the Vatican, and the cardinals are the kinkiest motherfuckers on earth, and they still are. But now they're hypocrites. I mean, they're bigger hypocrites than they were.
So she would get it on with clergy members.
Yeah. Oh, she would get it on in weird ways with clergy members. Like some of them actually tried to keep their vows by not actually having sex with prostitutes, but they would indulge all these super freaky foot fetishes. Like,
oh, this is the chick you told me about like a couple of years ago. I remember it was the most bizarre fetish I had ever heard about. Just because, not because it was like so disgusting or anything necessarily, but how intricate it was. And it was a story you told me about. Guys used to mail her shoes that were extremely uncomfortable, and she would walk around in them and then write detailed letters explaining what it was like. And that was not even interaction like face to face. That was the weirdest, most intricate fetish I'd ever heard of.
Yeah, it was crazy. She tried to get me in on this grift too, but my feet were too big, and the guy just he didn't like. He liked tiny feet in pain.
Okay.
Which is even more specific and detailed.
Right.
Like it can't just be female feet in pain from ill-fitting shoes. It has to be tiny female feet in pain from ill-fitting shoes.
So he was like putting like doll shoes on her or something. She had these really tiny feet getting really small.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of like what point in his development his mother locked him in the basement at, but that's what it came out as. But he actually wasn't a cardinal. Apparently the cardinal's foot fetishes were even weirder than that. But no matter how drunk I got her, she wouldn't tell me about that shit because she just didn't want to go back there.
She just swore. She made a vow between her and God and the cardinal not to discuss whatever.
I'm not sure if it was that or if it was just too horrible for her to talk about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And she saw some freaky shit, so that must have been really bad.
Yeah. Like cardinals and foot fetishes, and it was all just so that they didn't have to actually like put a penis in a vagina and go to hell.
Yeah, so they just had like a foot job. So that would be technically, not.
In some way, which one of the weirdest, craziest people I've ever known was too traumatized by to talk about.
Yeah, so there had to be more to it than maybe we should even explore that idea. That might be too traumatic for me, actually. But anyway, yeah, okay. So this is the girl you based the character of Elektra on, I believe, partially.
No, I based the character of Lisa LaRoche on.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I got them mixed up. The one in the Scene Vendetta.
Yeah, the Sen Vendetta. Like the Sen Vendetta is basically what would have happened if her husband had died instead of her, and then she went on this freaky revenge plot involving, the British version of the CIA and a bomb in the Seine River. there was a lot of fiction mixed into it.
Yeah. No, I was joking because I read it. You sent me a copy of it, and I remember reading it that she had worked as a dominatrix. I think I'm trying to remember. I do remember like her husband was Jewish, who had been dressed up like a Catholic and was killed by Muslims, if I remember.
Yeah, I decided to like double up on the irony there.
Yeah, and well, I remember writing like after like when I first read it, like I wrote you back. I don't know if you remember the email, and I was like, "Did you have to make him Jewish?" I was like,
Well, it like doubled or maybe even tripled the irony value. You know, like it's a religious crime, but you know and he's also like he's like ethnically Jewish, but he's actually an atheist, but he's dressed as a cardinal for Halloween. Such a religious crime against the wrong religion, against a guy who doesn't actually even believe in God.
yeah. And
So
it was a fun novel. It was very, Robert Ludlum or Tom Clancy-esque type of genre. And I think she was an army medic or something, or an army nurse
yeah,
character.
yeah, as part of her storied past. So and she just killed one of them for shits and giggles to get revenge, and then Her Majesty's Secret Service was like, hey, you got nothing left to lose, and you seem to be pretty good at killing these people, and we got a low budget, so either we send you to jail for murdering that guy, or you kill the rest of them because we know they're a terrorist cell. And she's like, how much money is there in it? And they go, there's money. And she goes, okay, I take plan B. And then the action romping begins. I think it's awesome. Like
it was a great fun read. I enjoy that kind of genre. It wasn't like you weren't necessarily trying to write great literature. You're just writing a fun novel, like in that same genre of like those action type of writers. It was a fun read. I recommend it. I mean, it was good. I kind of like the way that like MI6 guy kind of like blackmailed her. That was kind of funny.
It was a hell of a lot of fun to write, especially the part where they're running through the catacombs and knocking over tourists.
Oh, was that where they're racing for the bomb to stop the bomb?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people don't know that there's this whole like series of tunnels under Paris, and I'm like, how come nobody's ever done a chase scene through these crazy tunnels under Paris?
Well, they have now. You've done it.
Now they have. It's been
We'll see it in the movie version.
Anybody who wants to call me with a movie option,
You'll write the screenplay?
Yeah, I'll write the screenplay. It can't be that expensive to rent the catacombs for a day.
Hey, they can, they can do anything they want if they got the money for it, or they'll build it, for Christ's sake.
But you can't build it. You got to use the real thing, because there's nothing spookier than the real thing. It's like 100 meters underground. You really feel like you're in the kingdom of the dead, because it's. I think I've explained this before on other podcasts, so I'll try and go with a quick version. But like, Paris was simultaneously having a problem where they had too many limestone quarries that were collapsing, and whole neighborhoods were collapsing to the limestone quarries. So they had to stop people from digging in the limestone quarries. At the same time, they had too many dead bodies that were filling up the cemeteries and were like falling into people's wine cellars who live near the cemeteries. Just fucking walls toppling, and all of a sudden somebody's entire wine collection is just full of dead bodies. So they're like, okay, two birds with one stone. They take all the extra bones with all the bodies that they don't know what to do with, and they put them in these mines that they don't want people to dig in anymore because they're causing the fucking city to collapse. And they're like, okay, we make this sacred ground so people won't fucking dig in here anymore. And then they got the bright idea to also make it a tourist attraction. So they arrange the bones in all these designs. It's so freaky. But you go down there and there's a real feeling of solemnity. And, you're in a... It's not a particular religion, but it's like you're in a sacred space. So the idea of having a chase scene through here was so fantastic, because like, you're in this sacred space where you're supposed to have respect for the dead, and you just got this fucking Muslim terrorist cell tearing through there, just shooting away at things.
Yeah, deep. I didn't put that much thought into it, but yeah, I was just, wondering are they going to stop the bomb or not? But hey, that works too. I didn't realize you. Well, you probably because you spent so much time in Paris. Um, that should be a section at the end. We're going to have Anne say something in French because you're a fluent
Quelque
speaker.
chose en français.
Français.
I just literally said something in French. That's my little joke.
I just said something. Okay, that's
yeah. Somebody says say something in French. I just will literally say something in French.
Okay. No, I should have you talk dirty in French. That would be good. You'd get away with saying anything, and then they wouldn't know.
Attends, quelle bite. J'aime sucer ça. Venez plus proche de moi, monsieur. Okay, that's enough.
Okay, I'm not sure what you said.
I'm getting too hot. I'm gonna have to fuck one of these cats, and then I'll get arrested.
Well, speaking of getting hot,
that was a joke.
Was
a joke.
I mean, Ant's desperate, but not that desperate.
Just in case anyone with the FBI was listening, that was a joke.
And for the record, her cat's been neutered, so we don't have to, so you don't. We don't have to.
I'm not even sure how I would fuck either of my cats.
Let's not.
Let's not think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Let's not. I don't even know your cats, and I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But are you doing any more erotic fiction writing?
Not at the moment. I might be doing a little bit of erotic truth writing, but that's kind of a project that's under wraps for the moment. Mostly what I'm doing right now is editing my science fiction novel, Life, which, that's a long story. I went through years of trying to rewrite it so that a mainstream publisher would think it was the thing that they wanted. And then I was like, I can't figure out what the fuck these people want. So then I decided to release it as 4 novellas because I thought, nobody will buy anything long. People are into buying novellas now. So I'll sell it as a series of 4 novellas. And then finally I realized, fuck it. I'm going to edit it back to the way I had it when I kind of liked it around 2017. And then polish it up a little more from there, and then just release it myself or find a publisher who won't dick me around, but that's not very likely. And then whatever happens, and fuck everyone. Because we're about to get to your topic of sex after 40, because one of the themes of being over 40 is fuck it and fuck everyone.
Fuck it and fuck everyone. That's a... Well, it's kind of like what you were saying about an 18-year-old, how you couldn't deal with talking to them. It's like once you're after 40, you're like, look, I don't have time to fuck around. Are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
It's like, let's just get to it. We don't have time for the third date being the time. Come on.
If you're in your late 20s or early 30s, sex with an 18-year-old sounds really erotic. My boyfriend and I had sex with a very young girl when I was in my mid-20s, and that seemed very erotic. But if you mentioned that to me now, I'd be like, oh, God, that sounds like the fucking bore. God, did I have to mainline? I don't know what kind of drug I would have to mainline to even get through that shit.
Heroin? I don't know. That's the only drug that comes to mind when you say
Is there
mainline.
something that can make you stupider than heroin?
Sniffing glue, maybe? I don't know. Probably not. But...
Or huffing Glade. Oh man, Glade Boy is probably dead, but I used to know a kid from Manitowoc who was known as Glade Boy because he was a punk rocker, and his claim to fame was that his parents were so poor that the only thing he could afford to get high was just to take Glade and spray it into a bag and then put the bag over his face and just breathe in the Glade. And he swore to God he got high as a kite.
Wow, that's pretty desperate to get to alter your state.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a sad story. I just got a text last night from a buddy of mine that lives in New York, and he told me this guy that we grew up with, they're pulling the plug on him. He's in the hospital. All his organs are shutting down, and this kid was into, like you said, lots of different drugs, pills, booze, everything. He actually had a stroke at 40. And he's 50 now, and they're pulling the plug on him.
Fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't a good friend of mine, but I knew him, But yeah, I mean that's it's kind of, I mean he's been in a bad way obviously for a long time. I mean I didn't really but I mean if you have a stroke he's had a stroke 10 years ago and he's still so I imagine things are pretty. I mean, but he was a total fuck up. I mean he was he was a classic example of how not to live your life.
Yeah, but it still hurts to have old friends go. I mean, being from Wisconsin, heavy drinking culture, lots of well, people there like to do drugs, but have a lot of trouble getting their hands on them. So you wind up with shit like Glade Boy.
Mm.
When people drinking cough syrup, like a few years after I graduated, some girl collapsed in my high school because she just drunk like 4 bottles of cough syrup or something because she couldn't find anything else to get high on. But so many of the people that I knew back then are dead. The only person I can really keep track of that I knew when I was a teenager is Carlos Yu. I mean, Brendan O'Mara is still out there somewhere, but he found this girlfriend and moved to Ohio and kept drinking real heavily, and I haven't heard from him since. Chris Carey, I mean, he's pretty straight-laced, but he had a kid and moved to the suburbs, and then you never hear from people. I mean, that's almost worse than dying of a drug overdose. They just like poof, they're off into like, they're extras from Johnny Scissorhands at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean that's that's another thing when you get to be of a certain age like we are, is so many of the people. Well, the people who get married and have kids, at least this happened to me, is once all my friends started to have kids, like even when they got married, we still hung out occasionally. Not as much, of course, but once the kids came along, it was like they were gone. I mean, just, that's it. I mean, they're going, I mean, totally gone. I mean, there was one buddy of mine, and when he got married, even when his wife was pregnant, we still had our Sunday night poker game, and they would host. But once the kids came, that was it. I mean,
yeah, which kind of makes me, especially since I was, like I said, I was just at my parents' sad 50th golden anniversary party, which was even sadder because my aunt just hauled off and smacked my dad in the face at one point. She had too much to drink. But it's
typical Wisconsin family there.
Yeah, well, she's the one Methodist, so she's always been fucking. I love her to death, but she's a little off the chain. But she said she thought he said something off color, so she smacked him in the face right at his fucking 50th wedding anniversary. But when you see all those pictures of how much fun your parents had before they had you, and they're like with their brothers and sisters, and they're young and they're trying to dress nice. It's the 60s. Everybody's still thin and not wearing yoga pants to their own fucking wedding. And, they're all dressed up and they got the perfect little hairdos. And then you come along and all of a sudden everyone's 50 pounds heavier and they just look like a Mack truck backed over their dreams. And you're like, no wonder my mother hated me.
Yeah, but it could be worse, Anne, because you told me like I always had this impression that you came from this huge family, and then I remember finding out a few years ago you said it was just the two of you. And
I come from a huge. This is where it can be confusing. I come from a huge extended family, which is very close because we're Catholic. But my mother had a bunch of miscarriages, and she had a hysterectomy after having my sister, so she only had 2 kids.
Right. So that was just, I think the impression I got was
I belong to a big family, but I belong to a small nuclear family.
Yeah. So I had seen a picture. I think it was on your on your Facebook, like a family, like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas thing, and it was like this big, and all these people who looked alike.
Yeah.
I just
yeah, and there's like fucking 50 people, and they all look like me. Well, those are all my cousins, and we were kind of raised like brothers and sisters. So I feel like I have 50 brothers and sisters, but biologically, I just have the bitch who ate her twin in the womb.
Right. Yeah, that's your parent. Yeah.
She's actually not a bitch. I love her to death. She's my favorite person in the world, but she did eat someone.
She did eat someone, and not only that, she ate your sibling, not just someone.
She ate my other sister.
She ate your other or brother. Could have been would have had a brother, a little brother you always wanted. I mean, she ate him. So there's that. But yeah, you never thought about that, huh? I bet you never thought about that. You could next time you say it, next time you get mad at her, you're like, bitch, you killed my baby brother. Just see if see how long it takes for her to get it.
She's like, Am, you loved me the last time. We were just texting each other about our cats. What the fuck happened? You ate my brother!
Yeah, just see how she reacts to that. Go, what? It's like, oh no, Aunt's back on the bottle. Well, did your sister ever have kids? She got married, I know that.
She got married, but neither she nor her husband want to have kids.
Oh, really? Okay. I never got the point of marriage then if you're not having kids. Actually, you did say though that you would have been cool with marriage and not having kids. I just find it like I was speaking to someone once on the Older Brother podcast, and I think he's divorced, but they were saying like one of the reasons you have kids when you're married, he goes you kind of get bored. So one of the reasons you have kids.
Well, that was before they invented video games.
That was before video games, Star Trek.
I mean, if you get bored now, there's all kinds of shit. Like you're not Ma Pa Kettle sitting in a cabin with nothing to do except needlepoint and like make babies. There's all sorts of other shit you can do if you get bored with each other when you're married. I mean, the point of marriage these days is
to save on rent.
Yeah. A, to save on rent. B, you get a massive fucking tax break. I mean, people who have kids get an even bigger tax break.
Well, they get a tax credit, yeah.
Yeah, people who get married also get a massive tax break. And just, having somebody who's there for you. I mean, your friends can, like, swear allegiance to you, and, the next week they're, making flame videos about you on YouTube.
Yeah, I judge friends like the latter. I won't get into all the levels of how I judge friends or how close a friend is or how good a friend is, but at the top tier is the friend that helps you move. That's how you know someone is a good friend, when they show up to help you move. That's because you have a lot of people your friend, then you ask them, can you help move, and they're like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I got to do I got to go to basket weaving class that day.
The older you and your friends get, the harder it is to make that distinction, because at a certain point, most of you are not capable of helping each other move.
We're on walkers?
Well, like, two 20-year-old guys carrying up a sofa up 3 flights of stairs? Sure. Well,
that's true.
Do that. Yeah. Two 45-year-old guys carrying a sofa up 3 flights of stairs? They might come up with an excuse. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not your best friends. It might just mean that, hey, you're 45, you should be able to afford movers.
That's true. Usually by the time you're 45, you should have enough cash where you can hire some Mexicans to move your shit for you.
Yeah, or at least some young people.
Yeah, so we have a young, you can't like have these, you ever see like what a 20-year-old white person looks like now? They could barely stand up straight, these soy boy, I mean, at least, I'm not sure.
I was going to say my ex's best friend used to be a mover, but he's probably 40 now, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're friends with guys who work in the trades, that's great. But most people nowadays don't have jobs where they do labor. So even guys in their 20s now, it's like, man, I wouldn't trust you to move I wouldn't trust you to move my TV. You drop it.
Yeah, and you know what? That annoys the shit out of me when I'm looking for a job, because I spent most of my late teens and early 20s doing physical manual labor. And at some point in American culture, we developed this stereotype where, like, white females can't lift more than 10 pounds. So if I apply for a job, you're looking like, oh, this job, it pays more than the editing job. Maybe I'll apply for this. It's like night porter, $35 an hour. And they don't even look at your application because they're like, what, this white bitch is going to lift 15 pounds? What kind of crazy world are we living in? I'm like, I used to carry 50 pounds of carrots up 3 flights of stairs on my back. Okay?
We actually have a job we share in common. There was one job that you did and I did.
Gigolo?
No, dishwasher.
Ah.
I actually was a dishwasher in high school. That was my first job, and that was awful.
It was awful, but it was also zen. I mean,
Well,
there.
let me see your hands, your palms of your hands. Just put them up to the camera. I want to see how bad they. All right, you don't really have dishwasher hands. All right, anyway.
Well, yeah, it's been a while,
Yeah, okay.
but I used to have the like the shitty hands. But actually, if you wear rubber gloves and put lotion on
They wouldn't
underneath,
allow us to. It was in New York City. It was a board of health violation. We weren't allowed to wear gloves.
what?
Yeah, we weren't allowed to wear gloves
Why would it be a health
because
violation?
the bacteria would stay on the latex or the vinyl gloves they had back. You know those big yellow. I'm
Oh,
going.
the big yellow ones. Oh yeah, those were fucking gross. I wouldn't fucking wear those, but
Well,
I'd
that
wear.
I'm.
Well,
This is when
I'd
I was
wear.
a, this is when I was a teenager. That's all they had back then. You know, they didn't
Uh,
have all these different types of. I don't know what they use now, but we weren't allowed to use it. And I remember hating it because, and I didn't just dishwash. Like you work in a kitchen, like you dishwash, you do food prep. Like the salads are pre-made, but you got to take them out and put the croutons on them, and then you also
yeah.
have to grab this shit when the bus. Um,
The
but
worst part of the job is when dumb motherfuckers, especially the guys in the kitchen, will just throw knives in random tubs of shit, like big ass sharp knives, just like in a thing of plates.
oh, that happens all the time.
Yeah, and then
That's
you
just it.
grab in there and you're like, what dumb motherfucker did this? And also when people put like broken crockery in the trash and don't tell you about it, so you're taking it out. I've still got a big ass scar on my leg because some dumb motherfucker left a broken piece of crockery in the trash and the trash bag dragged across my leg. Dirty trash left a deep gouge, big scar, blood everywhere. Sorry.
Ugh.
Wow, I still have a petty gripe from 20 years ago. That's
Yeah, I'm
odd.
just thinking you're bringing me back to that job. I remember it was so hot. Like, well, it's hot in the kitchen anyway, but this was summer, and
Yeah,
I remember it must have been. I'm not lying. It probably because it was about like high 80s outside. It was probably about 110 degrees in the kitchen with like 100% because you got all the burners going.
yeah.
You got the oven going. You got all the burners are on, and you got the hot water from the dish. The dishwasher from the sink, and the dishwasher. You have both. You spray the big thing, and they put them. Well, you've done it, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just so hot. And also I remember taking out the garbage. We had the back of the like a restaurant has the back alley. That's where the dumpster is and everything. If you ever worked in a kitchen.
And where you smoke.
Yeah, that's where I go for a smoke. I remember I went to take my smoke break, and but it's kind of like they even get you there when it's smoke break. That means you have to take out the garbage, which piles up in the kitchen fast, as you know. And so, but ours it wasn't just an alley. We had to walk up like 2 flights of stairs because the restaurant was kind of built into a hill,
Yeah.
and we had to walk up 2 flights of stairs, which is not a bad thing, but carrying a giant garbage bag is a pain in the ass when it's that hot.
Especially if it's gonna slam against your leg and might have broken glass and shit in it.
Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have that happen to me. But that was my worst job ever, and I think that was the first time I ever experienced sweating so much I actually sweat through my jeans. Um,
Damn.
that's how hot it was in there. I remember drinking. We used to drink the bartender used to bring us in like these pitchers of like Coke, and it would be all like watered down because all the ice in it would melt so fast and everything. But we drink that. But I remember like not peeing
Oh
because
yeah.
despite how much you drink, because it just sweats out, so it never goes through your kidneys. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, except the other side of that coin is if you do it in Wisconsin, I remember one winter it was so fucking cold. It was like the coldest winter in Wisconsin. I would walk around with a winter coat on and a bathrobe underneath my winter coat. It was so fucking cold. And the only shoes that I had were Converse that had holes worn in the bottom. So I'd go to work and the dish room floor would be covered with like 2 inches of water, which would come up through the holes in my Converse shoes. And then I'd go out into like, negative 20 degrees weather with wet shoes with holes in the bottom and be just like picking my feet up all the way home, like,
that's how bad it was for you. You couldn't even afford a new pair of cheap sneakers.
yeah. But if it weren't for the getting wet and the shitty pay, there was something so zen about dishwashing that if it paid something reasonable and, you know, it didn't smell so fucking bad, I wouldn't mind doing that forever. I mean, there's something zen about it.
Yeah, well, I think manual labor jobs, there can be a zen quality to it. I mean, for me, I never really got that feeling of it, but
Well,
yeah,
I always felt like, okay, they can rent my body, but they can't rent my mind.
there you go. Well, yeah, you're always free in your own head, I guess. I mean, but on my list of like really horrible jobs, because I don't have a litany of jobs that absolutely like totally sucked. I really don't have that. I mean, I had a shitload of like low paying jobs where you could say the pay sucked, but as far as like what I had to do, not really. I mean, a lot of jobs I had were fun, you know. So it was, you know, I got to hang out with some cool people. So
Yeah.
so some people who like have had like some of these horrible jobs, it's like, like dirty jobs or something. You see some of the stuff that people have to
Like
do. It's like,
garbage man. Oh
yeah.
God, fuck that, man. But also, I gotta admit, I've had office jobs that were shittier than washing dishes.
Yeah, I'm guessing that totally depends on your boss because I've had friends who's had jobs like and it was just like their boss was such an asshole that they just
Well,
was.
the boss is an asshole, and the corporate culture is like very micromanaging, and they watch fucking everything you do. And I had been a dishwasher, so I was used to being left alone with a pile of dirty dishes and a boombox. I can listen to Def Leppard or whatever in the boombox. I just do what I got to do. As long as the dishes are clean and they've always got clean plates, they don't give a shit what I do. Then you
Right.
move into an office environment where people are like, so how many times did you click on this box? Why did you click on this box 4 times?
Right.
Why did you click on that box 8 times? And I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? And then it's always run by some woman who's got like a problem with other women.
Well, that's one of the reasons I like the office culture because when I worked I was worked for a law firm and my full time jobs in the summer and college were all at the law firms, and um, with one or two exceptions, all the women that worked there were secretaries or paralegals of one form or another. Like they weren't the attorneys, right? So we always used to eat lunch. Like we'd often eat lunch together, and I'd be the only guy because I was like the only male who wasn't a lawyer working there. I was like the file clerk, process server, and but it was really fun. So there'd always be these girls like anywhere from 22 to 35, and it was just fun to hear all the gossip that them telling me about the lawyers and stuff. So I'd always feel like I had one up on these lawyers who were making some of these guys were making millions of dollars. I mean, it was tort law like. Personal injury, medical malpractice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they were, these guys would get settlements of millions of dollars, and they get a third. So
Damn. Damn.
yeah, they made serious bank. One of the lawyers that worked, he must be, I don't know if he's still alive anymore. Tom Moore, he actually set a record in the state of New York for. This was in the '80s. It was one of the things they used to have up on the wall, like the newspaper clipping, the largest settlement. For medical malpractice.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, if you know any lawyers in LA who are like no fee till you win, I have so many fucking people I need to sue. It's starting to get like I forget them. Like I'll be so busy doing other shit and then I'll remember, oh yeah, I have to sue that person too.
Well, that's how I got into when I became a PI. That's what I started doing was what we'd call lawsuit feasibility investigation, which meant whether or not someone was worth suing. Because you can sue anyone. Just two factors that you have to: can you win, and two, is there any money there?
Right.
So someone could be totally in the wrong, but lawyers won't take the case unless you're going to pay just their hourly rate to just go through the motions. But there's nothing there because a lot of these lawyers will take the case. If you got a great case, they'll work on like a contingency. But most people that you want to sue don't have any money,
Right.
or nothing that's. I mean, you can't take blood from a stone. So that's the thing. So suing is like, what's it going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's why it's better just to hire a hitman, and that's how I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say that we're live, but that's.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about our various hitman arrangements here. Let's just say there are some, so certain people should just be worried.
Just be worried. And nowadays you can find anybody. And sometimes they don't even, hire someone to kill you. They just say, break his legs, whatever, something like that, uh, or they make it look like an accident, you know. If the brake lines fail,
Of course, now that we're announcing it in public, it's going to be harder to make it look like an accident. But
yeah, I disavow.
yeah. I disavow. I
Just,
disavow.
yeah.
Any hitman who may have done anything that I may or may not have paid them to do.
Yeah, Anne would never do that.
I disavow.
Anne would never do that. So how's your tummy?
Oh, it hurts like shit, man. But at least I haven't thrown up this bar. I think I was just throwing up from just the cats being disgusting. I mean,
it was a sympathy vomit.
Yeah. Well, I've done that before. Like there are legendary family stories about me sympathy vomiting just because I saw my cousin vomiting.
Yeah, but some people, it's like yawning. It's contagious, right?
Yeah. So, like, of course, it didn't help that he and I were also drinking water from his dad's Vietnam era canteen, but.
Your dad's Vietnam. Oh, you're both you and the cat were.
No, both. This
is
the family story. My cousin and I were drinking water from his dad's Vietnam era canteen, and for some mysterious reason, he started vomiting, and then I saw him vomiting, and I started vomiting too, and we're just like in opposite ends of my grandma's yard, just looking at each other and puking, and then looking at each other again and puking some more. So that was kind of the situation with the cats this morning. I'd been so sick the other day. I came home and I found cat vomit everywhere, and I started cleaning it up, and I was like, I just started throwing up all over again. So then I had to clean up my vomit again.
I think that's the only reason the only pets I've ever had are fish. Yeah. I just don't want to come home to that. Like either my dog got sick and shat all over the place or threw up all over the place. I just don't want. I would never want to have to deal with that coming home after I'm tired, and that would just ruin it for me. So
yeah, fish puke into the water. It's just.
Yeah, like if you forgot to put the toilet seat cover down and the dog and it throws up and whatever. So I fish is about as far as I ever went with the pets thing, and they're fun. They you can name them. You can. There is a zen thing of looking at them swimming back and forth.
Yeah, but look at this face.
Ah,
this is Stumpler.
Oh, that's a roach killer.
Yeah, he's the roach killer. He vaporizes roaches. He's so sweet looking, but if you're a cockroach, look out for this little motherfucker.
Looks a little chubby.
He's actually quite solid. I thought he was getting fat, but then I realized he's just a big ass breed. He's a muscular breed, which makes it even funnier that my sort of emaciated diabetic 19-year-old Maine Coon just fucking terrorizes him.
Huh?
She terrorizes him.
Terrorizes who?
Stumpler here.
Oh, okay. 19-year-old.
Yeah, she's 19 years old, and
holy shit.
Yeah, she's an old ass cat. She's had diabetes for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I always find that weird. How many cats get diabetes? My buddy had a cat that had diabetes, and every time he give the shot, he'd always say, "All right, no one move," because you always have to hold the cat to give it the.
Yeah, well, the real problem is if you give them too much and they haven't eaten enough, and they have seizures.
Yeah, their blood sugar drops.
Yeah, like she's had seizures. Like her poor little back legs stopped working, and then she started crying for me, and I was like, "Fuck, what do I do?" And she's just like, "Call the vet, you fucking moron." So I called the vet, and they managed to bring her back. But after that, I think she lost a few IQ points after seizuring that badly, which actually kind of played in her favor because for years she's been too smart to really enjoy shit like laser pointers. But after the seizure, I'm playing with the younger cat. He's like running all over after the laser pointer. She's like, "Oh, laser pointer!" And she's chasing it around. I'm like, "Ah, you're dumb enough to enjoy that. Now I
Ah.
guess you're having your second kittenhood."
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's that there's an upside to being dumb, I guess,
Yeah.
Maybe well, so we have something to look forward to when we get older. We'll lose IQ points, and well, in our old age, we'll both be chasing around laser pointers in our walkers.
I'll be like, "Oh, Lincoln Logs."
But are you going to your writing thing?
Yeah. I need
You
to
don't
get
have to give any details of it.
Yeah. It's just a writers group. A friend of the other one who shall not be named, the one from Michigan, introduced me to him, and of course Voldemort told me that this guy was a terrible guy, but he actually turned out to be an awesome guy, and he and his girlfriend invited me out, and we had a good time. So then he invited me to a writers group, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to share this Halloween story that I wrote with this writers group. So that's going to be fun. But that's why we had to do this early today, but not as early as we wanted to because of all the me vomiting and the cat vomiting. And please, Los Angeles, germ theory, fucking germ theory.
Germ theory.
Jesus.
That's another reason why Ant has cats. Germ theory.
Yeah.
But what we should do now is, now that we have a YouTube channel, we actually also have a SoundCloud channel. I have to upload the. Oh, by the way, did you like the password to our YouTube channel?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't.
We can't say what it is. But
yeah, I won't share it, but I appreciate it.
It was funny, and so this will be on SoundCloud when I figure out extracting the audio from the video is this weird thing because it's only recording this in video, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at the edited version of our first episode yet.
Nope, I've been puking most of the week.
Okay. Well, I just put it up last night, but
doing other unpleasant chores, which we shall not get into.
Okay. Don't get into it. But what we will do is, now that we have the YouTube channel and that video is up, we're going to put like links to, because you're a writer. So I need a list of all the links to put in there. You can say some of them now, like your Twitter and like your, I don't know if you still use, do you still use Medium? Medium.com?
Yes. Actually, right now I'm writing a series on Medium.com about my move to LA and how it introduced me to the bizarre underworld of unregulated Airbnb flop houses that exists because of the housing crisis here, because there are way too many fucking kids from Ohio here who think they're going to be movie stars for the amount of usable housing stock there is. Because you have like basically immigrants from Ohio moving in at the same time that immigrants from Mexico are trying to move in, and they're all trying to move into the same housing stock. And the crazy thing is, you get American kids from Ohio who are living like more people to a room than the Mexican immigrants. Which is kind of hilarious. It's like, wow, there's like 30 fucking would-be movie stars from Ohio living in the same room.
It's literally Clown World.
Yeah, it's fucking Clown World. It's like what used to be a middle-class home is now like this hostel with all these crazy rules, like only certain people can use the kitchen. You have to pay like $5 extra a day to get a glass of water from the kitchen, and there's one bathroom, and it's just terrifying. So everyone. Oh God,
yeah, one bathroom with all those people. That's so gross. Yeah. I have two bathrooms just for me.
Yeah.
One I just use for showering.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
So I literally have two bathrooms that I keep one for one use, one for the other.
And yeah, because you don't want to poop where you shower.
No, I mean, take it for granted. Most people do, and because they got one bathroom. But that's not how I roll.
You especially don't want to shower where 15 other motherfuckers who rarely shower are pooping.
Yes, and another thing, I do not want to clean anyone else's toilet. It's bad enough having to clean your own, but having to clean toilets other people use, I don't. I mean, I generally, I used to always have a cleaning lady, but then I was like, that's really excessive. So how bad can cleaning my place? I will occasionally bring someone in to clean my place, but
Oh, if I could afford it, I'd hire a cleaning lady in an instant because I'm so OCD and I've been so germ phobic since the typhus. I can waste literally all morning and or all afternoon cleaning every molecule of cat hair out of everything, and I still feel like shit is dirty. And sometimes I'm like, my time is worth money. It might be worth it for me to just pay someone to clean it, and then my brain can be like, it's been cleaned.
Yeah. Yes. Well, if you got the cats too and the hair and everything, so yeah, that's different. I mean, I don't have that issue, so
Yeah.
But just like my kitchen, I allow my kitchen to turn into a mess. I don't know why. That I don't know. No one gives a shit about my kitchen. What am I talking about anyway? I was asking you about.
We're just talking about our relative levels of germophobia.
Germophobia, yeah. But I wanted to get the list of places where they can find you and me on the interwebs. You got the medium.com, so I'm going to put that link up. And you got, I don't know, I'm guessing you want your Twitter up. And I don't know if your Facebook, you care about that too much. I don't have Facebook really.
Yeah. Since they keep banning me, I'm like kind of like fuck.
Oh, that's right. You got
yeah. But I do have an Amazon page where you can buy my books.
Ooh, that's right.
You're gonna be able to buy Nusquam again soon because I've hired a kind young man to try and fix the shit show of files that I got from my old publisher. So
Nusquam was a very good book.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that one. Latin for nowhere. But and by the way, pronounce it
Nusquam.
Nusquam. I was always called
Since no one really knows how Latin was pronounced, you can pronounce it however the fuck you like, and nobody's really right or wrong.
Right, I could be saying it correctly for all we know.
See, I pronounce Nusquam. I mean, I pronounce Latin like it's Italian, which French people think is fucking hilarious. Like, if you're in France studying Latin and you pronounce it like it's Italian, people are like, they're trying not to laugh at you.
Yeah, but I mean that makes sense though because Italian is the closest relative language to France. That was the first derivative of Latin.
Right, but there's like this sort of standard accepted European pronunciation of Latin, which is not like Italian. But for some reason, my brain looks at it and just goes, "I'm going to pronounce this like it is Italian."
Like Italiano, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, screw it. I mean, screw those French people. But and especially you could speak. It'd be funny if they started like saying not knowing that you spoke fluent French and they were like making fun of you and you're like, "Bitch, I know what you just said. I speak French."
Well, I've actually asked them like, "What's so fucking funny?" And they're like, "You sound like you think Latin is Italian." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, part of my brain does think Latin is Italian because I don't know if you've ever looked at a chart of fucking Romance languages since you're a native speaker, dumbass."
Yes, look at the tree, the language tree. You can see where it all comes from, which is actually fun to do. Actually, you can see how you got Sanskrit at the bottom, and then it all goes from there. Actually, I just a quick story before we wrap up. I actually met a guy who had a PhD in linguistic anthropology.
Ooh.
And studied human. And this is really funny. The guy spoke fluent Mandarin. And he was, he was a white guy, and it was really funny. And of all the places, I met him at a David Irving speech. You know who David Irving is?
I do not.
You know the movie Denial? David Irving was the guy that was sued what's her name, Lipstadt or whatever, that English Jewish woman, for slander or whatever because she called him a Holocaust denier. He's a big.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Now. Okay. One of those people with names I can't remember because they're all too common that were involved in some embroilment.
Yeah. But David Cole, who's a mutual acquaintance of ours, he knows David Irving well, and
as soon as you said Lipstadt, I was like, oh, now I know, because when you say a name like David Irving, I'm like.
It could be anybody.
Yeah, Bill Johnson.
Joe Smith, yeah.
Yeah, like.
But anyway, so okay. Well, anyway, that was just a quick aside. But then, all right. So we got your. I'll have your Twitter. I'll have your Amazon. Actually, I don't have your Amazon link just to your thing, but I'll find it or you email it to me, and we'll put that up because I'll have to. This has to be edited. And
I also have a Medium publication called You're All Pussies, so that's easy to remember. If you just Google Medium You're All Pussies, you'll be able to find my shit.
Okay. I don't think I've read that one. Maybe I have.
I've put a bunch of stories on it. It's just like a Medium publication I decided to start for like politics neutral art, but it's kind of turned into a catch-all for whatever I feel like writing because.
Well, and also what we're gonna do is we're gonna also set up a Patreon. So if you want to have your comments or read on air and have questions answered by us, you can ask anything. Well, within reason, of course. You know, we're not promising we're gonna answer.
I'm not counting my pubic hairs or my eyebrows.
Yeah, but we'll give you a best guess. But you can ask Anne like her thoughts on penis size if you really want to know. Or
any more? I've already pretty much given an
you give your thoughts or
long,
you know.
But
Don't send
anything.
Don't send dick pics, okay?
John doesn't want to see those.
No. And what you do?
Depends.
Oh boy, I don't know. You're the only girl who wants dick pics. I was like, who is? If it's like what Brad Pitt, you're like, yes. I mean,
I could blackmail Brad Pitt. I mean,
If you're a famous guy, if you're like a Anthony Weiner guy, send it to me so I can blackmail your ass. And now then I'd be what do they call it, like a Clinton side or something? I would.
I was about to say maybe Hillary Clinton should send us some gash pics, but then I just threw up all over the inside of my head.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that gaseous gash. That would.
But we could make millions of dollars.
Would it be worth it though? We'd be scarred. Would it be
worth, like being scarred for life? To have, I mean, we could pay for a lot of therapy.
That's true. We could. It might be, but maybe a lot of electroshock therapy would be what would be necessary to clear that from our brains.
That's a hard decision, but Hillary, if you want to force us to make that decision, you know where our email is.
Yeah, or Hillary, if you're feeling, instead of your gash, send us your girlfriend's, the one that was married.
Yeah, her gash is going to be a lot nicer to look at, I guarantee you.
So,
I like the fact that Hillary Clinton is having sex with her should make everyone angry.
Yeah. That Hillary Clinton can get better pussy than you.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Brad Pitt's looking at it going, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's right. Angelina Jolie didn't age too well. That's why he left her.
Yeah, he's like, what? She gets to fuck that, and I have to fuck this, and I'm Brad Pitt, and she's Hillary Clinton? Where did God go wrong?
The universe is not fair. What can I say? But anyway, kids, that'll wrap up the show. We'll be back again. Same bad time, same bad channel. And, peace out, everybody. Later.